The accidental restoration. Marcus Chen stared out the viewport of Outpost Epsilon 9, watching the swirling gases of the nebula beyond. He'd been on this remote station for 6 months now. Just him, his 11-year-old daughter Ellie, and a skeleton crew of 12 other maintenance workers and scientists. The United Earth Alliance had hired him for his exceptional mechanical skills, though they'd conveniently forgotten to mention that Epsilon 9 was held together by little more than rust, hope, and the occasional prayer. "Dad, you're doing that thing again," Ellie said, appearing at his side. She mimicked his 1,000-yard stare, then grinned. "What thing?" he asked, ruffling her dark hair. "That I can hear something breaking somewhere face." Marcus laughed. "That's because I can. This entire station is practically singing a symphony of mechanical failure." He tapped the metal wall beside them, producing a hollow, echoing sound. "Hear that? That shouldn't sound like that." Ellie rolled her eyes. "You say that about everything. And I'm usually right." He checked his work tablet. "I've got to head down to sublevel 8. There's a power fluctuation in a section that's been sealed off for decades. Want to come along?" "Is that allowed?" Ellie's eyes lit up with excitement. "Probably not," Marcus admitted with a wink. "But I'm the only mechanic crazy enough to take this job, so they can't really fire me." Together they descended through the station's worn service shafts, bypassing the main elevators that Marcus had personally deemed death traps. The station had originally been built as a research outpost nearly 70 years ago, but funding cuts had left it as little more than a monitoring station for the unusual radiation patterns in this sector. Sublevel 8 was cold, dark, and smelled of ozone and something else, something alien. The air had an electric quality that made the hair on Marcus's arms stand up. Their footsteps echoed down corridors that looked like they hadn't seen human presence in decades. "This doesn't look like Alliance construction," Marcus muttered, shining his light on unusual geometric patterns etched into the walls. "Dad, look at this," Ellie called from a few meters ahead. She stood before an enormous sealed door, her hand hovering over a panel covered in crystalline formations. "It's warm. Don't touch anything," Marcus said automatically, hurrying to her side. But as he approached, the crystals began to glow with a soft blue light. The door, which he now realized was made of some unknown metal alloy, shuddered. "I didn't touch it, I swear." Ellie backed away. The control panel pulsed, as if scanning them. Then, to Marcus's horror, the massive door began to slide open with surprising silence for its size. "We should go," Marcus said, reaching for Ellie's hand. "Right now." But curiosity, that quintessentially human trait that had propelled the species to the stars, kept them rooted in place as the door revealed a vast chamber beyond. Unlike the worn, utilitarian design of the human station above, this space was elegant, with soaring arches and technology that appeared both ancient and impossibly advanced. "Dad," Ellie whispered, "I don't think this is human." "No," Marcus agreed, his engineer's mind already cataloging the impossible architecture. "This predates our station by centuries, at least." At the center of the chamber stood a pillar of light, a containment field of some sort. Within it floated what appeared to be a mechanical heart, a pulsing core of energy that had clearly gone dormant. Around it, dozens of consoles lay dark and silent. "What is this place?" Ellie asked, her voice filled with wonder rather than fear. "I don't know," Marcus admitted, "but it definitely explains the power fluctuations." He approached one of the consoles carefully. The station must have been built on top of this. Whatever this is, they probably didn't even know it was here. The console responded to his proximity, flickering to life with holographic displays and an alphabet he'd never seen before. Yet somehow, he understood the basic meaning. Power systems, life support, defensive measures. They were all offline, running on emergency power that had lasted for. The number made no sense. Thousands of years. "Maybe we should tell Dr. Kazan," Ellie suggested, referring to the station's scientific director. "Yeah," Marcus said distractedly, his hands already exploring the console. "We definitely should." His fingers found a familiar pattern, a universal design concept for power distribution. Engineers, even alien ones, tended to think along similar lines, a series of dead relays, a simple rerouting problem. Without thinking, he made the adjustment that any decent engineer would make. The room hummed to life. Lights flickered on throughout the chamber, revealing its true scope, easily 10 times larger than he'd initially thought. The mechanical heart in the center began to pulse more rapidly, its glow intensifying. "Dad," Ellie's voice trembled. "It's okay," he assured her, though he had no basis for that confidence. "I just restored power. It's what I do." A series of concentric rings on the floor around the central pillar began to glow. Suddenly, the pillar itself shimmered and dissolved, leaving the mechanical heart floating unsupported. It pulsed once, twice, and then released a wave of energy that passed harmlessly through them. The station, the alien station beneath their human outpost, was awakening. "We really should go now," Marcus said, more urgently this time. But before they could move, the heart expanded, unfolding like a flower to reveal a stasis pod within. The pod lowered gently to the floor, and its opaque surface became transparent, revealing the humanoid figure inside. A woman, at least a being that strongly resembled a human woman, lay within. Her skin had a faint lavender tint, and her hair, flowing around her in the suspension fluid, shimmered with a metallic quality. Most striking were the intricate patterns that seemed to flow just beneath her skin, like circuitry made of light. The pod hissed open. The woman's eyes snapped open, solid silver, with no discernible pupil or iris. She sat up in a single fluid motion that seemed too perfect to be natural. "Restoration sequence complete," she said in perfect English, though her voice carried unusual harmonics. Imperial Princess Lyra of the 7th House of Astraea, awakened, her silver gaze fixed on Marcus. "Identify yourself." "Activator." Marcus swallowed hard. "I'm Marcus Chen. This is my daughter, Ellie. We're maintenance workers." The being called Lyra tilted her head, the circuitry beneath her skin pulsing. "Maintenance workers," she repeated, as if tasting the concept. "No. You are the Awakener. The prophecy speaks of one who would restore the Nexus when the need was greatest." She stood, revealing a form-fitting suit that seemed to be made of the same material as the technology around them. "I'm just a mechanic," Marcus insisted. "This was an accident." Lyra's expression remained impassive. "There are no accidents in the cosmic design. You have awakened me, and with me, the Nexus Starport. After 5,000 cycles of dormancy, we are operational once more." "Starport," Ellie piped up. "This is a starport." "It is the Nexus," Lyra corrected. "The central hub of the Astrian Concord's transportation network, or it was before the Voidborn invasion." As if responding to her words, the entire chamber shuddered. Above them, alarms began to blare in the human station. "What's happening?" Marcus demanded. Lyra walked to a console, her movements unnaturally precise. "The Nexus has begun its full restoration sequence. Your attachment above will need to be reconfigured or removed." "That attachment is home to 16 people," Marcus protested. "Dad," Ellie said, pointing to a holographic display that had appeared above them. It showed the space around the station, and the 3 vessels that had just emerged from what appeared to be fold points in space. They were massive, sleek, and definitely not human in design. "The signal has been detected," Lyra said calmly. "The remaining factions have arrived to claim the Nexus." As expected. What factions? What signal? Marcus felt the situation spiraling out of control. "The activation of the Nexus sends a beacon across all known sectors of space," Lyra explained. "Those ships belong to the Voidborn, the Hegemony, and the Stellar Collective. All will seek to control the Nexus. All will fail." How can you be so sure? Ellie asked. For the first time, Lyra's expression softened slightly as she looked at the child. Because the Nexus can only be controlled by one of Astrian blood, working in concert with the Awakener. She turned her silver gaze to Marcus. That would be you, maintenance worker Marcus Chen. The station shuddered again, more violently this time. The comms unit on Marcus's belt crackled to life. Chen. It was Dr. Kazan, the station director. What the hell did you do down there? We've got 3 unidentified ships approaching, and the station's reconfiguring itself. The lower levels are sealing off. Marcus grabbed the comms. Get everyone to the emergency shuttles. Now, this station was built on top of something else, something ancient and alien, and it's waking up. What are you? Just do it. Marcus cut the connection and turned to Lyra. How do I stop this? You cannot, she replied simply. The restoration has begun, but you can direct it. As the Awakener, you have certain privileges. Another violent tremor shook the chamber. Ellie stumbled, and Marcus caught her. Dad, I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, kiddo, he admitted. Then, to Lyra. What do I need to do? Place your hand on the heart, she instructed, gesturing to the mechanical core that now hovered at waist height. Your genetic signature has already been recognized. You can at least ensure the safety of your people above. Marcus hesitated only briefly before placing his palm on the pulsing core. It was warm, vibrating slightly, and as he touched it, the circuitry-like patterns that adorned Lyra's skin briefly appeared on his own arm, climbing up to his elbow before fading. Command recognized, Lyra announced. Reconfiguration paused. What is your directive, Awakener? Marcus thought quickly. Preserve the human station above. Ensure the safety of everyone on board. Acknowledged. The tremors subsided immediately. However, the approaching vessels will not be as accommodating. They will seek to destroy what they cannot control. Then we need to convince them they can't control it, Marcus said, his mind racing through possibilities. That it's not worth the fight. Lyra's expression might have contained a hint of approval. A human strategy. Deception rather than confrontation. It's called survival, Marcus corrected. And right now, I'm responsible for my daughter and everyone on that station. Very well, Lyra conceded. But you should know that once the Nexus is fully operational, it will become the most strategically valuable installation in this sector of the galaxy. The Concorde built it as both a transportation hub and a defensive bastion. Meaning it has weapons? Marcus asked. Among other things, on the holographic display, the 3 alien vessels had taken up positions around the station, their weapons systems clearly powered up but not yet firing. They're waiting, Ellie observed. Why aren't they attacking? They seek to determine who has control of the Nexus, Lyra explained. Each believes they can claim it before the others. Marcus looked at the display, at his daughter, and at the alien princess who had emerged from 5,000 years of stasis. In the span of 30 minutes, his job as a station mechanic had transformed into something far more complicated. All right, he said finally. Let's show them who they're dealing with. Galactic confrontation. The command center of the Nexus Starport had fully activated, revealing a circular chamber with holographic interfaces that responded to Marcus's mere thoughts. Through the neural connection established by his touch on the heart, he could sense the station's systems, weapons, shields, communications, and something else. Something vast and interconnected that spanned beyond the stars themselves. The Fold Network, Lyra explained, observing his expression. The true power of the Nexus. It can create stable wormholes to any known location in the galaxy. That's impossible, Marcus muttered. The energy requirements alone ruled. Your understanding of physics is quaint, Lyra interrupted, though not unkindly. The Astrian Concorde mastered fold space technology before your species discovered fire. Above them, the human station had gone quiet. The emergency evacuation protocols had been initiated, But according to the Nexus sensors, only 2 of the 4 shuttles had launched. The others remained docked. They're not leaving, Marcus realized. Kazan and some of the others are staying behind. Dad, look. Ellie pointed to one of the displays showing the interior of Epsilon 9. Dr. Kazan and several security officers were making their way toward the sealed entrance to the Nexus. They're coming here. Before Marcus could respond, one of the alien vessels, a massive warship with what appeared to be living components integrated into its hull, fired a warning shot that passed dangerously close to the station. The Voidborn grow impatient, Lyra observed. They will not wait much longer. Open a channel, Marcus instructed, to all 3 ships. As you wish, Awakener. A communication interface materialized before him. 3 separate windows appeared, each showing the command bridge of one of the alien vessels. The diversity of the species was striking. The Voidborn appeared to be massive, fungi-like beings with multiple sensory clusters. The hegemony representatives were insectoid with complex mandible structures. And the stellar collective appeared almost human, save for their bioluminescent skin and 4 arms. This is Marcus Chen, current administrator of the Nexus Starport. He began, improvising. State your intentions. The Voidborn commander's voice came as a series of harmonic vibrations that the Nexus translated. Surrender the Nexus to the Voidborn Dominion or be eradicated. The ancient technologies belong to those strong enough to wield them. The hegemony claims this installation by right of territorial sovereignty, the insectoid captain countered. Our ancestors fought the Astrians for this sector. Their abandoned assets are our spoils of war. The stellar collective representative, a 4-armed female with glowing skin patterns, not unlike Lyra's, spoke last. The Nexus is too dangerous to be controlled by any single faction. The collective proposes joint stewardship under our supervision. Marcus glanced at Lyra, who stood impassively beside him. Do any of them have a legitimate claim? No, she stated flatly. The Nexus belongs to the Astrian Concord, which still exists through me, the last Imperial Princess. Their claims are like vermin fighting over who owns the palace after the kingdom has fallen. Not exactly diplomatic, Marcus thought, but he understood her position. I propose a demonstration, he said to the alien commanders, to show why your claims are irrelevant. Without waiting for their response, he mentally interfaced with the Nexus systems. The station hummed with power as previously dormant defense systems came online. Not weapons, but something far more impressive. A shield of energy enveloped the entire installation, including the human station above. What are you doing? Lyra asked, genuine surprise in her voice. Making a point, Marcus replied. Then, to the alien commanders, fire on this station if you wish. Test our defenses. The Voidborn commander didn't hesitate. Their vessel unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that would have vaporized a standard Alliance battlecruiser. The blasts dissipated harmlessly against the shield. The Nexus cannot be taken by force, Marcus continued. And as Princess Lyra can confirm, it can only be operated by those it recognizes. Currently, that's me and her. Not you. Impossible. The hegemony captain chittered. A human cannot interface with Astrian technology. And yet, here we are, Marcus replied, with more confidence than he felt. A new alert appeared on the display. Dr. Kazan and his team had breached the outer seal of the Nexus entrance. They would reach the command center within minutes. We have another problem, Marcus muttered to Lyra. Your people seek to claim what they do not understand, she observed, a common trait among younger species. Ellie, who had been quiet during the exchange with the alien commanders, suddenly spoke up. Dad, why don't we give them a tour? What? Marcus looked at his daughter in confusion. All of them, she clarified. The aliens and Dr. Kazan. Show them the Nexus, what it can do. Maybe if they understand it better, they won't fight over it. A diplomatic summit, Lyra said thoughtfully. An interesting approach. Marcus considered it. The alien vessels remained in attack position, though they had ceased firing after witnessing the ineffectiveness of their weapons. Dr. Kazan's team was moments away from breaching the command center. "All right," he decided. "Let's try it your way, Ellie." When Dr. Kazan and his security team burst into the command center, weapons raised, they froze at the sight before them. Marcus standing confidently at a control interface, Ellie beside him, and the alien Princess Lyra watching them all with her unsettling silver eyes. "Chen, what the hell is going on?" Kazan demanded. "The station's transforming, alien ships are surrounding us. And what exactly are you doing?" "Preventing an interstellar war, for starters," Marcus replied. "And arranging a summit. Representatives from the 3 alien factions are being invited aboard." "You're doing what?" Kazan's face reddened. "Under whose authority?" "Under mine," Lyra interjected, stepping forward. The circuitry beneath her skin pulsed with light. "I am Imperial Princess Lyra of the Astrian Concord, and this is my starport. Your Marcus Chen has awakened me from stasis, and in doing so, has become the recognized Awakener, a position of significant authority within Astrian protocol." Kazan blinked rapidly. That's impossible. The Alliance surveys found no evidence of alien habitation in this sector." "Your surveys were inadequate," Lyra stated simply. "The Nexus was designed to remain hidden until properly activated." Before Kazan could respond, the displays showed transport shuttles departing from each of the alien vessels. The representatives had accepted the invitation. "Dad," Ellie whispered, tugging at Marcus's sleeve. "What if they start fighting once they're here?" It was a valid concern. Marcus interfaced with the Nexus again, instructing it to create separate arrival points for each delegation and to implement security protocols that would prevent weapons from functioning within certain areas of the station. "They won't be able to harm each other," he assured her. "At least, not easily." The next hour was a blur of activity as the alien delegations arrived. The Voidborn moved like flowing fungal masses. The hegemony representatives clicked and chittered as they evaluated everything with compound eyes. And the stellar collective delegates glided gracefully, their 4 arms constantly in motion as they gestured and communicated. Marcus, with Lyra's guidance, led them on a carefully orchestrated tour of the Nexus's key systems, explaining its purpose as a transportation hub and cultural exchange center, deliberately downplaying its military capabilities. "The Fold network allows instantaneous travel between any connected points," Lyra explained, as they stood before the massive Fold chamber. "But it requires specific genetic keys to activate. The Astrian Concord designed it this way as a safeguard. And this human possesses such a key." The Voidborn commander rumbled skeptically. "He does now," Lyra confirmed. "The Nexus recognized him as the Awakener, a role prophesied in our ancient texts, the one who would restore the Nexus when the need was greatest." Marcus suppressed a smile. He was fairly certain she was embellishing that part, creating a mythology around his accidental activation of the station to reinforce his position. Dr. Kazan, who had been observing silently, finally spoke up. "This technology could revolutionize human space travel. The Alliance would pay handsomely for access to it." "It is not for sale," Lyra stated firmly. "But it could be shared," Ellie suggested unexpectedly. All eyes turned to her, and she shrank slightly under the attention before continuing. "That's what a starport is for, right? Different people coming together, trading, learning from each other." A thoughtful silence followed her words. "The child speaks wisdom," the stellar collective representative said finally. "A neutral port, accessible to all, controlled by none, save its rightful administrators." She nodded toward Marcus and Lyra. "Unacceptable," the hegemony captain chittered. "Such power cannot be left unclaimed." "It is not unclaimed," Lyra countered. "It belongs to the Astrian Concord, as it always has." "A dead empire," the Voidborn commander stated. "Not dead," Lyra's eyes flashed. "Dormant, as I was, and now awakened. Marcus sensed the tension rising again and intervened. What if the Nexus operated as a true neutral zone, governed by a council with representatives from all factions, including humans, with Princess Lyra as the executive authority? The alien delegates exchanged glances, clearly intrigued by the proposal despite their reservations. And what would be your role in this arrangement, Awakener? The Stellar Collective representative asked. Marcus hadn't thought that far ahead. I'm just a mechanic, he said honestly. I fix things. That's all I've ever done. That is precisely why you are the Awakener, Lyra said unexpectedly. The Nexus needed restoration. You restored it. Now it needs maintenance and protection. That is your purpose. The negotiations continued for hours, with proposals and counterproposals flowing back and forth. Throughout it all, Marcus found himself relying increasingly on Ellie's perspective. Her innocent yet insightful questions often cut through the political posturing to the heart of the matter. By the time an agreement was reached, the human station above had been fully integrated into the Nexus structure, transformed into a proper dock for the great Starport. Dr. Kazan had contacted Alliance headquarters, and a human diplomatic team was en route. The three alien factions had grudgingly agreed to recognize the Nexus as a neutral zone under Austrian sovereignty, with a governing council representing all interested parties. In exchange, they would gain access to limited fold network travel rights and trading privileges. As the delegations prepared to depart, Marcus stood with Lyra and Ellie in the command center, watching the stars through a viewport that hadn't existed hours before. You negotiated well, for a maintenance worker, Lyra commented, a hint of respect in her otherwise formal tone. I just applied the same principles I use for fixing machines, Marcus replied. Find out what each part needs to function properly, make sure nothing interferes with anything else, and give the whole system a purpose. Ellie leaned against him, clearly exhausted but excited. So we're going to live in a giant alien starport now, with a princess. Marcus laughed. Looks that way, kiddo. Your role as Awakener is not temporary, Lyra informed him. The Nexus has bonded with you. It will require your presence to maintain optimal functionality. You're offering me a job. Marcus raised an eyebrow. I am acknowledging reality, Lyra corrected. The station has chosen you. I accept its judgment. Coming from her, that seemed like high praise indeed. As the three of them stood there, watching the alien vessels depart and new ships arrive, human vessels responding to Kazan's reports, Marcus reflected on how quickly life could change. This morning, he had been a simple mechanic, a single father trying to provide for his daughter on a forgotten outpost. Now, he was the Awakener co-administrator of potentially the most important installation in this sector of space, working alongside an alien princess from a civilization that had mastered technologies humans had only dreamed of. And somehow, it felt right. Like fixing a machine that everyone else had given up on. Discovering that the broken thing wasn't broken at all, just waiting for someone to understand how it worked. Dad. Ellie's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Yeah, I think we're going to need a bigger apartment. Marcus laughed, wrapping an arm around his daughter's shoulders as Lyra watched with curious silver eyes. Yeah, kiddo. I think we are. Beyond the viewport, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if welcoming the Nexus back to the galactic stage, and with it the unlikely human who had awakened it, and the daughter whose simple wisdom had prevented a war. The Nexus Starport was restored, and with it, a new chapter in human-alien relations had begun.